All right, so let's revisit the area principle and look at a few more things that can go wrong with graphs. Some of these are misleading, some of these are just confusing, but regardless, none of them are conveying the information very clearly. And that's the important thing we want to do when we make a graph. So, this first one is something about population age structure. Um, and this graph is what I would say busy, right? There's 6 different colors going on there. One of the colors is a gray, which actually fades into the background. So it's hard to distinguish like these little gray tops of these bars against this background that is 2 different colors. That's kind of distracting. And then if that isn't bad enough, they took the whole graph and tilted it on its side. And so then in order to read that, the person either needs to turn their head to the side or you have to turn the paper you're holding. And so you want to make it as clear and as easy as possible for the person looking at your graph to understand exactly what you're communicating quickly and easily. So it's not necessarily a super bad graph. There's just a lot of busy issues, presentation issues here that distort what's really going on with the data. So we'll look at another example here. This one is the number of singles sold, and they have 4 different years here. And this one is difficult to read because they've gone to 3D and then they've done that vanishing point thing. And so it's hard to tell. I mean, it kind of looks, if I compare 1995 and 1997, it looks like 1997 is a little bit shorter, but it's hard to tell at the angle that that's presented at. So if we were to take this graph and redo it in what a marketing person might say is kind of a boring format, but just in a facing forward 2D format, it's a whole lot easier to see that that first and third column, 1995 and 97, are exactly the same height. Okay. Whereas before, I thought that perhaps 1997 was a little bit shorter. So this just makes it a lot clearer what's going on. All right, a couple more examples here. So this one, looking at the titles on the base of this graph, it looks to me like these are perhaps ways that people die. But regardless, they've taken this graph and not only is it an angle, but it's from a bird's eye view. So you're looking down on the graph at a kind of bizarre angle. So it makes it really hard if I wanted to look at that road accident bar. I know it's between 200 and 300, or at least I'm fairly certain it is, but it's hard for me to tell exactly. Is it closer to 200? Is it closer to 300? Is the column next to it taller? Is it the same height? It's just difficult to tell at this angle. This next one, my art teacher would be really proud. This person has 2 vanishing points in their graph. They've done a really nice job of drawing it, but again, it makes it really hard to compare those columns to each other or even to really know what the scale is and what that overall comparison is. Right, and then this last one. So this is a graph of basically how does a $40 board game, how did they get to that price to charge that? So that was the shipping, that was the cost of making the game, it was sold to a distributor or a wholesaler, right? So it's everybody's profit and cost and everything. And so how did they arrive at $40 as the price for this game? So looking at this, it's a little bit hard to tell which columns go where. And in fact, it appears that the legend is upside down from the order that's in the pyramid, because it looks like the top of this pyramid is gold, which is the bottom of the list. So that's a confusing element there to have so many categories and then they aren't even in the same order as the picture. But the biggest issue here is that the pieces are not sized relative to each other. So that gold piece at the top of the pyramid says $8. And the purple piece below it, which definitely appears to be quite a bit bigger, is also $8. So those 2 pieces should be the same size if they're both representing $8. And then one more comparison. If we look at the bottom of this pyramid, it's $10.50. So that's just a little more than 8, and yet the bottom of the pyramid appears 4 or 5 times bigger than those pieces that are marked as $8. Okay, so this has, it's got the 3D aspect going on, there's generally an issue with graphs, as well as the pieces just aren't proportional to each other, and so that makes it really confusing.